Welcome to the first edition of the week that was on the Bookie Beatdown Patreon page here. Paul Shaughnessy, Cody Saftic, looking at the week that was from one FC or one championship to LFA to BYB, and obviously the bulk of our focus will be on UFC Vegas 101. Maybe a quick little look ahead to what to expect from us this week. But yeah, probably like a quick little 30-minute show. Go over our bets, go over our reads, go over what we kind of, what we thought of our reads, what we thought of where we went right, where we went wrong, so on and so forth. Where do you want to start here, Codes?
Yeah, let's start at the prelims and just work our way through and kind of see how the night went. So obviously, Joe Solecki versus Nurullo Aliyev was the first fight on the card, and Aliyev is a minus 700 favorite going in. That was kind of the only discussion that Paul and I had coming in. We both ended up picking him. He was the play. Just 2-year-long layoff. He's had some injuries. He had to make a weight cut. He didn't look great on the scales on the Friday, and now he's a minus 700 favorite over a guy that's got UFC experience, a high-level BJJ black belt, and always has spots in fights. So Aliyev ended up being the play, just didn't go as heavy on him as obviously in the end I probably should have. But it wasn't that easy of a fight for a minus 700 favorite, Paul. If you think about it, the first round he gets caught in a triangle choke, but again, he does have the top control. He does have some ground and pound, wins the first round. Second round, he gets the takedown. He gets caught in a triangle choke again, works his way out, gets the top control, wins the round. So he's up 2 rounds. There was a couple sticky spots, I suppose, in the first and the second, but he thwarts the attempts and he gets away. The thing is that when the second round ends and Joe Solecki immediately pops back up and starts walking back to his corner, you see Aliyev sluggishly pull himself up the canvas. Now, there's ring rust, there's an adrenaline dump, but he's a minus 700 favorite, and there's a full round to be fought out still. In that third round, he got outstruck by the numbers officially. He was outlanded in the third. I guess that's a weird one. The graphic on the TV showed that Solecki had been landing the shots. By the numbers, actually, Aliyev outstruck him 24-21. And then you see Solecki at the end get the takedown, end up in full mount. Round ends. I gave the third round for Solecki. 2 of the judges gave the third round for Solecki. One of them did give it for Aliyev. So there was a 30-27 Aliyev, which I highly disagree with, and then 2 29-28s, which I thought was the right call. Aliyev, rightful winner, rightful play. You picked him, all good, made some money there. But again, for a minus 700 favorite, what do you do with this guy going forward? Is he this 24-year-old Tajik beast of a man? Or is he somebody that looked like he had very stiff and robotic striking? Cardio looked very limited. He is physically strong, and we knew that, able to get takedowns. But with the takedowns, not big on ground and pound, not big on trying to pass the guard, got caught almost in 2 triangle chokes. Going forward, he might be fade material. Like, it depends on who the opponent that they match him up with is, but it wasn't an ultra impressive opponent considering you're a 7-1 favorite. Got the win, did everything right, but not like the most wowing of fights, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed. I didn't have I had Joe Solecki by submission, and at
Almost got it, dude. Almost
plus
got it,
1,300, and it's just
Yeah.
like when you bet a prop, like I didn't touch a money line, anything like that. You bet a prop like that. If you have 1 or 2 opportunities that you're like, the little sprinkle, it was like $100 sprinkle, whatever. Like, that's why you make those plays. If it comes through, you would have been happy. But just the fact that he had any sort of opportunity, the fight goes a full 15 minutes. Like, I was happy, or not happy to lose. You always want to win, but wasn't mad at myself in any sort of way for taking a small little poke there. But yeah, Nurullo, he looked kind of stiff, rigid on the feet. The volume wasn't quite really there. Putting himself in tough positions. Like, he's 24. Of course, he's going to have time to improve, but I wasn't all that impressed. So somebody to probably watch out, like, watch when like his next fight gets booked, see what type of opponent. It's obviously going to be a bit of a step up. Could be very much fade material next time out. The books will probably adjust, though. I don't think he's going to be a minus 700 favorite next time out. Fatima Klein took on Victoria Dudova. Klein, pretty much one-way traffic all the way around here, and round 2 gets her out of there. Drops an elbow, which cuts open Dudakova, and then Dudakova basically just stopped defending herself. Klein minus 900 favorite. Kind of did what she had to do, like kind of did what she was expected to do out there. I mean, there were nice props on her to win by KO out there. I think it was like plus 850. I didn't get to it. I just avoided this fight from a betting perspective altogether. But shouts to or props to people who did get on that because you know it was pretty much one way traffic. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, this one was a beating. So Fatima Klein came to the Is it Fatima or you say how you
Fatima,
pronounce
I
it?
believe they were
Fatima?
saying on the broadcast.
That's what I
Fatima
call her.
Klein.
Fatima Klein. Anyways, she came in as a highly touted prospect from Invicta, lost her UFC debut against Jasmine Jasudavicius on short notice, up a weight class. When you're 10-1 favorite over somebody, minus 800, minus 900, minus 1,000 over somebody. Yeah, I think there were some question marks, but you and I did the live weigh-in show, and then seeing her on the scales at 115, she looked very solid. And when you saw her next to Dudakova on the stare down, all those advantages that Dudakova had in the physicality were largely probably going to get nullified by Klein finally fighting at a proper weight class. So this is a fine performance from her in that gets her first UFC victory, very nice stoppage, one-way traffic, as you mentioned, took absolutely zero damage. If you want to play devil's advocate and kind of nitpick at one small thing, again, she did give up 2 takedowns. She spent some time with her back up against the cage. She got on top of Dudakova at one point and got swept, got reversed, and ended up with Dudakova on top of her briefly. Much better grappler. I think she was the much better striker in this spot. Her wrestling was probably on par with Dudakova. She was just much more advanced in the grappling department that when the fight physically did hit the ground, she was able to end up on top. And then when she did end up on top, some solid ground and pound. So I think she's solid, and there's not a whole lot of divisional standout wrestlers at 115 in women's MMA. So I would say she's probably going to be good for a while here. But when somebody in there gets in that can match that physicality or present that grind element, similar to what Jasmine did, similar to what Dudakova wanted to do, but was just too inexperienced to do so, she'll still struggle against some of those physical girls in the division. But on the technique side of things, yeah, highly advanced fighter will probably go out there and win many more fights in the UFC, but not, I don't think I would say world champion material quite yet. Going to have to win 3, 4, 5 more, build her way in, but solid prospect, look good, got the job done, no need to nitpick. Did she look like a 10-1 favorite? No, she looked like a 6-1 favorite, but all the same, looked like a sizable favorite. The bookies were on that one. They didn't want to get burnt, and Klein showed out. So solid performance for her to get the first UFC W.
Then we had Bruno Lopez, Magomed Gadzhiev, Barry Horowitz, pat on the back for me here. I was on Bruno Lopez money line. Bruno Lopez by decision. I even brought that up on like Pat's live stream on Friday. And long story, yeah, there was a little bit of like, oh, there could be a knockout. I was just like, Gadzie's never been obviously he was undefeated coming into this. I was like plus 750, was willing to do it. I was surprised, of course, that Bruno Lopez gets 5 takedowns over the course of the fight. He controlled most of it up against the fence, but yeah, I mean, this was basically my call of the card. It paid out bigly, and it was a nice way to start 25, frankly, to get a plus 225 money line, plus 750 by decision prop. It kind of set me up for like the rest of the card that you can afford to take some L's here and there when you hit those types of numbers. So yeah, Magomed Gadzhiev was a big time fraud. He got fraud checked on Saturday night. But yeah, the biggest shocker of this fight was that Gadsy got nothing done in the wrestling. Like, I think Bruno was like 5 of 14 on takedown attempts, and Magomed was like 0 of 3. Like, very strange how like there just was no wrestling from the Magomed side whatsoever. Maybe was he injured? Who knows? But something strange happened in that fight.
Yeah, so a weird one. I should have just had the cojones to stick through it. We broke this one down at length that Godzi, very fraudulent fighter, someone that's going to get fraud checked. And you and I love fraud checking these fighters that have been fighting salty competition, have been squeaking by, and we always bash this guy every single time. And why didn't I just pull the trigger on it? But yeah, again, and when you've got an undefeated Russian fighter from Chechnya, spent time in Dagestan, from Bahrain, a lot of backing behind him. They've given him a winnable fight. What I did do was it was a 14-fight card, and he was on the PRP line. So he was the 13th guy. So him losing did not do me any good, but it's 2025. Let's come out. Let's trust the gut. And I didn't really do it there. So I should have stuck with Bruno Lopez. You did. Kudos to you. And you got the reward out of it. With Godzi, yeah, just terrible. And as your point, why didn't he shoot more? So as it turns out, bit of a bad read here too. As it turns out, he's not a wrestler. He's a striker. All of his background is in striking. He had fought in like Russian K1. He wants to strike. The reason why he's taking down guys like that Medina guy on the Contender Series is because they're absolutely no good. If you're absolutely no good, he could take you down. But for the most part, he was more comfortable striking. We all knew he had a bad gas tank, so he needed to either knock out Lopez in the first round or somehow win the first 2 rounds. I'll be perfectly honest with you, and I had a PRP Godsey ticket, but outside of that, nothing really on him. I thought Lopez won all 3 rounds. Now, 2 judges gave Godsey the first round, or I believe they gave him the first. By the numbers, when you look at the striking numbers, Godsey outstruck him like 15-3. But it was that he couldn't get his back up off the cage, like at all. Like as soon as Bruno just wanted to push him there, that was it. So Bruno had 2 options here. If you want to strike around with this guy, yeah, he could strike a little bit, throw a few punches. But his get out of jail free card was just spam cage control because Godsey couldn't get his back off the cage. Second round, it's like, okay, if the judges have given Magomedov that first round, then all he needs to do is win one of the next 2. And there's not much going on here. But Lopez would, again, just throw a few, push him up against the cage. Third round, they're kind of both tired. And what happens when 2 guys are tired? They throw 2 shitty strikes, and then they clinch up, and then they walk themselves to the cage, and they hang out there for some more period of time. So this was by no means a good performance from Bruno Lopez, who I think is someone that you probably do fade in the future, depending on matchup. He didn't show any type of real striking element. His wrestling really isn't that good. He went 3 for 15 on takedowns. When he did get the fight to the ground, he didn't have long, prolonged periods of top control or ground and pound or submission attempts. He mostly just went through the motions versus a guy that's just terrible, right? The guy that's just no good, has no depth to his game, had no plan B, has no real cardio, has no real upside. So yeah, 100%, man. Brazilians have a long track record of upsetting these Russian opponents that maybe come in and underestimate them. And all of a sudden, it's like you got a big physical guy here that's throwing caution to the wind and is strong in the clinch. And as you fade, they're still there. So you can't take nothing away from Bruno Lopez. It was a clean performance, very boring fight overall. Not something I'd want to go back and rewatch. But if you're a Lopez better, oh, baby, he did everything right. Oh, I try to strike with the guy. Oh, I try to pass guard and risk him doing something. Oh, I try to do anything that's going to expose you when you can just sit right here and do exactly this and get the job done up against the cage, not exerting yourself. So clean win for Bruno. I should have stuck with the gut on that one. Unfortunately, that's an L for me. W for you. What can you do? Hopefully get it the next time.
Yeah, he did the Mario Batista impression there against Aldo, where it's just like hold up against the cage, get a takedown, but like, don't really hold any position. It was very, very boring. But when you bet him to win by decision, you're like,
it's very exciting.
This is great. This is exactly what I
mean. There's only 2 minutes left in the
this.
round.
While everyone else is just like, next.